Check.
Yo. Hella black. I'm here. I'm in this motherfucker. Don't you run from me, soldier.
Hello. Yeah. For sure. Sound good on your end?
Yeah, I'm telling you, I just got sleepy out of nowhere.
It's some like Patron, man.
Bro, I'm really trying to do better, bro. Like, I just spent November through fucking the first week of February on the road.
Yeah.
I really want to spend this next month. I think I'll go on tour in like April. I'm trying to spend this next month and a half getting right.
Yeah.
I really want to get right. I hella want to get better.
Just like hella healthy and shit.
Yeah. It sucks though because I've been trying to work out. I think I might have a pinched nerve in my neck or something, bro.
Yeah.
Because anytime I do like any shoulder related lift, my shoulders just get hella tense, bro. And stiff. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Did we start the camera?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So, I don't know. And it's also, not being in shape makes me feel so inferior.
True. Especially as a former athlete.
Like, you associate so much of your self-worth with how much you can lift, how fast you can run, how long you can run, how long you can lift, how hard you can hit, how high you can jump.
Bro, especially now as we're getting older, it's like, nigga, I was lifting more, freshman year of college than I'm lifting now.
Bro, there was a point when I was hitting 225 like 18 times, and I was weighing like 180 pounds, bro.
Yeah. I could probably hit 225 like 25 times.
Bro, I was
hitting 315. Squatting hella
my
clean.
knee be hurting, my back be hurting. I'm like,
bro,
and
my
then,
knees hurting now. Like I just got back from the gym. Like
yeah.
I literally couldn't. I'm not doing no leg workouts because my knee fucking hurts.
And we also need to figure out some ways to do this active lifestyle shit as a part of our. Is it sedentary? Isn't that what it's called when you sit hella much?
Is that what that word is?
Yeah, I think it's like that's.
Be accessible with your language.
But like that's basically. It's a job where you spend a lot of time sitting, right?
Yeah.
So both of us having essentially desk jobs, I feel like you get to move around a little bit more. It's just like you have to walk around campus and shit.
Yeah.
But I work in a fucking like office. It's not big at all.
Right.
So
have you seen those desks where they have them like standing desks?
I have those. Those are stupid as hell. I had like I stood up twice today. I'm like, why would I do this? My back hurts.
Yeah.
Like, my calves hurt. Why?
I've seen them like walking treadmills for desks. Have you seen those too?
Then I'm gonna be at work all sweaty. There's no
way out.
I don't know. So I want to spend the next 6 to 8 weeks figuring things out. Like, I know how to eat healthy. I know how to do that. I haven't mastered that on the road yet, but I know how to eat healthy. And I'm trying to figure out how to work my body in a way that's not so much the football shit anymore. Because I don't know how.
Yeah, because the thing, even the way we worked out in college, like, that's not the best way to be working out. It's not good for your body, honestly. Like, lifting hella heavy, is not good for your knees and shit like that, So, that's some shit I've been trying to figure out, too. Is like, because then it's like your self-worth, at least for me. I'm like, damn, I was doing more in high school, damn near doing more in college, but it's also like, damn, I actually don't need to be putting 225 on the bench. Especially as a nigga who's had 2 fucking shoulder surgeries.
But I also like being in shape. Like,
separate the self. You are in shape, though. So a lot of people, everyone would be like, oh yeah.
A lot of people are in shape though. That's why.
Yeah.
If I compare myself to the norm,
yeah,
I don't want that for myself. But I also don't want to compare myself to like professional athletes. I just want to be able to run and jump at the best of my ability. That's my goal for the next few weeks or so.
Yeah.
Are we gonna cut that out?
I don't know.
It's episode 36 of Hella Black the podcast.
You feel me? Still knocking.
When was the last time we recorded an episode?
Shoot. The last time we dropped one was like the 1st of February. So it's been a couple weeks-ish.
Did we have a guest on that, or that was just you and I?
That was just us talking about Kamala Harris.
Oh, yeah.
Coppola. I don't know.
I remember that.
So
I'm glad we back in this thing.
Equality and justice for all.
Yeah.
If you haven't tapped into that episode, you should for sure tap into that episode. We really dive into Kamala Harris, her politics, her past policies, and how she is not for black people. So tap into that episode, especially because this episode we're going to be talking about like black radicalism. Who is a black radical? What is this black radical, right? Or who is a black activist? Who's for us? Who can speak for us, right?
Yeah.
You feel me? So we're going to be talking about that. So make sure you listen to that episode. It's almost like pre-listening type shit for this one. So tap in with that. Yeah, we're gonna talk about that, and then we're gonna talk about 21.
Shout out my nigga 21.
My nigga free. He got free today.
Did they actually let him out, or they're in the process of letting him out? Like they said, barring a fucking.
I think he's gonna be released on bond
or some shit. Yeah.
Some shit like that.
Really should be home. I mean, for me, I haven't done all the research on it because once I saw the bullshit ass takes and all the inherent anti-blackness, I just separated myself from the shit. I'm not going to be able to get a non-anti from what I was seeing on the internet. Yeah, it was I could not get a non-anti-black take. I could not get one that was not assassinating his character and his street cred. There was nothing like that wanted to address immigration for black folks, so I just stopped reading. I just didn't even entertain it. I'm like, when he get home. I'm wishing him the best. I know bro gonna figure it out. I know he got some money, he can find a legal team, but I could not expose I could only imagine that was like some poor black folks, because it does happen to poor black folks, right?
Right.
But to see those takes from people and all the jokes that was surrounded by it, we're gonna dive into that. But so this will be my first time literally even diving into the subject, just because I detached myself from it from the very beginning. Yeah,
and I think it's important too to recognize that for people who are listening, is like, you don't have to. There's gonna be so many things going on, and it's like recognizing, what you have capacity for, right? And how much you want to engage with the subject. And it doesn't make you less woke. It just means you're taking care of yourself. So I think that's important.
Depending on how long we talk, depending on how long we talk, we should probably talk about capacity in the extended episode. That's something I'd love to touch on.
Yeah, Patron actually hit us about like something that they wanted us to talk about too. So we got that.
This might be an extended episode.
So you should show tap into our patreon.com/hellblackpod. Thank you to all the new patrons. You feel me? We've been getting a lot more patrons lately, so y'all are fucking appreciated.
Yes, you are.
Thank you, base guy. So tap in with our Patreon, patreon.com/hellblackpod. You have extended episodes, so if you like what you're hearing, you can hear some more. Pay up.
Let's reiterate that these episodes that you hear on SoundCloud and the iTunes are not the full episodes.
Like
there's more content.
We have hell content. Like
more fire. There's more
hours upon hours upon hours of shit. And if you're a patron, you get to curate the episode. So like someone hit us up like, hey, can you talk about this on the podcast, right? And like, yeah, we'll do that for the extended episode. So tap into our Patreon, like us on SoundCloud, subscribe on iTunes. Give us a 5-star review. If it's 5 stars, if it's not 5 stars, we don't want it. So tap in, support, Hella Black. We here.
I want some constructive criticism. So if there's some constructive criticism out there, I'm all for it.
Yeah, but you don't need to put that in the iTunes review. you could DM Hella Black Pod or one of us.
Facts. But my game a little? I don't know. I feel like.
No, you good.
All right, for sure.
Yeah, I'm not hearing nothing. So as we were saying, we're gonna talk about 21. We're gonna talk about
we gotta dive
radicalism
to Black Joy though.
But first, like my brother was saying,
that's always first and foremost. We gotta recognize that Black Joy. What's making us black folks happy out there. Shit, healthy might be in it too. Happy and healthy. What you got for Black Joy this week?
Ooh, I have a few good ones. I think the first one is we just had my students. We had our open house. So our open house is basically when we invite the whole community, broader campus community, to come in and learn about the African American Theme Floyd program. Mm-hmm. So we were able to have all, hella people pulled up to their open house, and it was just cool to it was like just a big ass celebration of blackness, and just seeing them being unapologetically black, being unapologetically them too, and like performing dances and shit, poetry. It's just hella funny. It's like, oh, they had like photos of mac and cheese up. Like, is this black mac and cheese or is this not black mac and cheese? Like, is homeroom's black owned or is it not black owned? And showing the photos, like, yeah, looking at that mac and cheese, that shit ain't black owned, right? So that open house was for sure a good Black Joy moment, and seeing the joy of my students. Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if it's because I was subconsciously trying not to think about these things, but I never realized. I think post-grad, when I say post-grad, like after I graduated school is when I realized the importance of having like black things and black center spaces and black safe spaces on campus. And I probably had them just because my football team was predominantly black, right? So that was like my black community up there. But when we did the live podcast at LMU, and the black students were like, bro, this is the safest space that I've had. This is the blackest shit that I've done since I've been at this university. And I got to see the celebration that y'all had, like via your IG story or whatever. I'm like, damn, this is hella lit. And I know, you know, at these PWIs and probably at the HBCUs too, but you just deal with all this anti-black shit 24/7, day in and day out. Like those little moments, I'm pretty sure like that celebration, you know, I just did a lot for the students and the staff as well. You know,
just even me as an educator, like, you know, being like a radical in the academic space that's a PWI, you know, that shit is easy. You know what I'm saying? Because the black shit ain't the popular shit, right? So we're always having to advocate for more resources, you know, really advocate for our humanity as, you know, for our students, you know. So all the stresses, that's why it's a joy moment to see community come together like that and really celebrate each other and shit. And it's pure and it's organic, you know, and that shit's raw.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That's what's
what about you, fam?
I would probably say, I'm trying to think what I did this past weekend. But I know when I went to Atlanta for the Super Bowl, that was super black. For one, because it was the Super Bowl in Atlanta. And I remember when I got on the Southwest, when I got on my flight from Oakland to Atlanta, and I really felt like I was on Soul Plane. And I say that with all due respect. It's not a roast. Like when you get on, when I got on the plane, nigga, I was like boarded group A, nigga. When I got on the plane, all you see is just niggas. Shit was wild, bro. I was fucking with it so tough. And of course, yeah, you know, niggas love Atlanta. Atlanta is just hella black for real. And I'm sure it's, if you ain't never been there and you black, you should for sure go. That shit like Black Heaven, Black Disneyland, whatever you want to call it. And of course, seeing my family playing the Super Bowl and just having like a bunch of niggas from Oakland out in Atlanta celebrating a nigga from Oakland. And then like I was on, I'm trying to remember the street that is it Edgewater? If you're from the A, you might know what I'm talking about. But there was like this strip, and the shit was rolling like Harlem in the fucking 80s or something, bro. Like some paid in full shit. It was just cars out, the nigga, the gas stations popping, and it's just me and this nigga Keenan. We just, and I got to link up with Clarissa. Like that was hella lit. Like that's probably, I think that's damn near. Now we had our nigga William that came out here from Buffalo who did the breakfast program with us. But fucking Clarissa is like one of the first people that I can say that I linked up with off Twitter. Like most of my friends, most of the people you see me interact with on Twitter, I know them in real life. You know what I'm saying? I'm like getting kind of new to like the mutual thing or whatever. Yeah. But that was like one of the first people that I got to link up with.
Especially just after having a dope ass podcast.
And I got to see them speak at fucking Morehouse.
Yeah.
So it was just, yeah. So getting to link up with Carissa and spend some time with her, we went and spent some time with them. We went and had drinks and shit. It was hella fun.
That's what's up, man.
So being in the A was my Black Joy shit.
Yeah. So it's always important to celebrate Black Joy. You know, especially in the midst of everything going on, all this politics, you know, 21 Savage stuff, like, just in a world of anti-blackness, where shit is anti-black as fuck, day in and day out, I think it's important to celebrate joy. Even in times, you know, when you're going through shit. I know, like, for me, I've been going through some shit. And just, like, one of the things we did at our staff meeting was, like, all right, what was a Black Joy moment? You know? And that was me doing it so I could talk about my joy, just by, you know, hard shit going on. Yeah. You know, life is fake, but you know, Black joy is real.
Yeah, you think about how much we get like black pain and fucking black suffering just exposed to us through mass media at all times, right? I think it's important that we combat that shit with black happiness and black joy and shit.
Yeah. Facts.
So for our first topic, bro, I think you would be one to provide, because based on like the outline that we did, you have more of the thoughts, just because, again, like I said, I disconnected from the whole shit. But for the folks that don't know what's going on with the 21 Savage deportation situation, can you like give a brief overview?
Yeah, so essentially 21 Savage was locked up by ICE, right? And people were like, ICE, why is ICE locking up 21 Savage, right? Then ICE has this whole post saying, you know, his full name and that he's not from here, right? But I think the backstory behind it is actually he was on, I think, Jimmy Kimmel. Is that dude's name?
The week before, it was like either Kimmel or Fallon.
Yeah, one of those white men, you know. He was on the show and he changed his line in his song a lot. And he's pretty much criticizing ICE, criticizing, you know, what's going on in Flint. So he's making a political statement, and then 5 days later, he gets locked up by ICE, right? And is, you know, no bond, right? And the news of it breaks, and then you just see Twitter just on some nut, wild shit, right? So, Whitley gets locked up by ICE, the police, essentially, right? ICE is another form of police. You can't spell the police without ICE, you feel me? Mm-hmm. So, it's an extension of the police. Locked up, no bond, and then just Twitter is like a shitstorm, Whitley. And just like Whitley making fun of this whole situation. And there were so many memes, like street cred, all these different, you know, notions of like shit that doesn't really matter. Like a nigga is locked up, and this is what niggas is talking about.
Yeah, and it's such a layered and like heavy topic and situation, because I think the number one thing is like, well, we've also seen this happen when you see, when it's not just black immigrants, right? Like you see motherfuckers handle immigration with no sense of morale, ethics, or like empathy, sympathy, whatever. So I know that that's going to be like tenfold when it comes to black folks. Like I expect everything to be amplified. I expect all the hate and oppressive rhetoric and theories and shit to be amplified when it comes to black folks.
Right, because when we think about the word undocumented, there's an image. You don't think necessarily. Your first thing you think about is, you know,
in California, I'm thinking from somebody from like Mexico.
Right.
Like, that's the first thing I'm thinking.
Exactly. Here. Or like Central American folks. You don't think about a black person, even though there's hella black undocumented people in the United States, right?
Yeah.
Haiti, you know.
You're not thinking of Africans. You're not thinking
West
of that at all.
Africana, you feel me? Like there's hella undocumented black folks
in
this country, right? But the image, the popular image of it, is not black, right? So you don't think about black people, and you don't think about black people and how they are being treated in private prisons, in these, you know, ICE detention centers. And there's, you know, reports showing that black people are treated the worst in these private prisons, right? So this isn't something that is new, right? 21 Savage isn't the first black undocumented person, right? Quote unquote undocumented person that has been locked up. But we just saw a certain level of anti-blackness that I feel like I have not seen. And
it's wild because we thinking about what just happened.
On such a viral level.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I mean, because of who it is, for one.
Right.
He's like, you know, a rapper. You know what I'm saying? He's a lot more visibly seen than you know, he isn't the average immigrant based on like his status in society. Yeah. And then
especially pop culture.
On top of that, yeah. And then you think about, it was wild for me to see the responses when you think about the climate, when you think about what just happened with the families that were getting separated at the border and all these people that were like so gung-ho about, you know, immigration and like hell against ICE. When it came to 21, now all of a sudden niggas believe ICE. And like when they started releasing those statements and all that shit, it's like, now y'all believe these niggas? Like, we know ICE has a history of just not just fucking disregarding the truth and then making their own rules. We know they
have their own propaganda. The police have their own propaganda, and people are falling for the propaganda of ICE, right? But folks are mad at families being separated, and 21 Savage literally talks about, in his line, is like, families separated at the border, I couldn't imagine, some shit like that, right?
Yeah, and niggas like to think that's some conspiracy theory shit, but it's, if you are that stupid, is that the right one? You can't be that oblivious to what's going on. Like the fact that 5 days after this nigga speaks out against ICE, this nigga is captured by them. He's detained by them. Like,
so this literally means that 21 Savage is a political prisoner.
Facts. Right. He made a political statement, and as a result of it, he was in prison.
So none of this shit before, right?
This nigga's in and out of Fulton County, my nigga. He's been in and out of Fulton County.
For how many years?
Like, why are they just now choosing to get
you know, drug charges and I don't know, gun charges probably too, like all these different charges, and this nigga's just, ICE is just coming in now. You feel me?
And you see it before, like when it comes to immigration, they tend to fucking like assassinate the image and the character of the folks that they're deporting, right? That they're deporting. Yeah, so it's with the 21 shit. It's obvious that there's anti-blackness at the root of this shit, and that's why it's been handled in a totally different way. And it's anti-blackness in ways that folks aren't familiar with and can recognize.
Right. Like
the shit of where they're like the first thing niggas thought of when most niggas, and I thought about this too. I'm like, damn, so this nigga ain't where he from? He ain't from where he say he from. He ain't never did none of that shit. Like, that's the first thing that I didn't say it out loud because I'm gonna give myself time to process this shit. And
you didn't tweet it.
Yeah, like I think that's a natural reaction. But then when you start hearing that ICE is involved, it's like, okay, what got me kind of fucked up? It's like folks that consider themselves like activism organizers getting in on the jokes. I'm like, well, nigga, if we supposed to be activists and organizers and we supposed to be against ICE and deportation as a whole, we need to be addressing this from a different standpoint.
Like, oh, he's not from the A? Like, that's the first thing?
Do an ICE, nigga. We talking about ICE, nigga.
And if he is, like, undocumented, right? Do you really think he'd be, like, trying to say, oh, yeah, I'm from Britain or I'm from the Dominica? Like, would he be saying that shit? There's a reason why he probably wouldn't talk about shit like that. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, lot of niggas on the internet also like on some dry snitching shit too.
It's a lot of levels to it, bro. And I think this won't be the last time we see some shit like this. So I hope we can do a better job of assessing the situation and critiquing it from a standpoint that's not rooted in some dumb shit. Like where he's from, if he actually did any of the shit that he said he did.
Because a lot of these niggas ain't from, where he from, Zone 6?
A lot of niggas ain't from where they from in general, but also ain't no niggas from Atlanta said that 21 wasn't from there. Like a lot of niggas is still vouch for the nigga. Like I don't give a fuck when this nigga came over here, bro was with the bullshit. That's just what niggas owe. Right. But yeah, I just hope that when this happens again next time, that folks really take the time to take the opportunity to like. I mean, it's Twitter, bro. People don't get their jokes off. Like that's what it is. Like we dumb for thinking we can go to Twitter and get political analysis. Like that's just.
Yeah, but it's like if you compare the situation to, you know, photos of families and kids.
I mean, but we know, right? Bro, it's because he's black. Like weird.
But it's like
for us to think that
even us as black people were engaging in this anti-black, internalized anti-blackness, you know? Yeah. So it's like we're engaging in this shit and we're saying fuck 12, fuck the police, fuck ICE for other people, but when someone who looks like us is okay, you know, is locked up, then all of a sudden it's like 21 ain't from the A. You feel me?
Like, the nigga's still black.
You said what?
At the end of the day, he black. Like that's like that's what niggas need to realize. Like, bro, he's black. It don't matter. He one of us. I don't give a fuck where this nigga from.
And then people wanna. I don't know. I just don't understand how you could talk about abolishing prisons, you know. And even some of these people that I'm seeing tweet about, I was like, y'all talking about abolishing prisons and then making jokes about this nigga being locked up.
There's never an okay time to make a joke, bro. There's never like I was seeing folks that I follow liking certain tweets. I'm like, nigga. How can I ever work with you and you think this shit is funny?
So like, is that what would happen if, you know, one of us went down or some shit like it was
how can I work with you, my nigga, and you think this shit is funny? I don't care if you like the meme. I don't care what like there's no like you're a part of the problem, my nigga. You a op.
Yeah.
You a op. Period. Point blank.
And it's like people are becoming reactionary and then pushing the propaganda that ICE has put out.
Like you don't realize through those
memes. You are criminalizing 21 through the memes. And the whole culture now is criminalizing 21 Savage.
You don't realize that through the memes you're feeding into the propaganda. You might not be able to connect those dots, and that's why I said, okay, hopefully through this, if you listen to this shit, you realize the mistake that you made.
By niggas want to talk about propaganda all the time. People, oh yeah, this is propaganda. Like, nigga, the memes you were making is literally reactionary to propaganda, and you were doing the job of white supremacy.
And it's again, bro, it's a recognizable. It's the recognizing thing. A lot of people can't recognize. Like we've only been taught to see, like we look at, so a perfect example is like, again, like we said, immigrants look this way, immigrants talk this way, immigrants look that way. So it's again being able to recognize that things, anti-blackness looks like this, white supremacy looks like this. When you don't understand how you making memes that feed into the propaganda of white supremacy is in fact enabling white supremacy, if you can't recognize that, then you're gonna continue to do this shit. Or if you can't recognize it and you continue to do this shit, then you just stop.
And ICE wouldn't exist if it wasn't for anti-blackness or anti-black racism. Literally, the fucking private prisons that undocumented folks are being put into are private prisons that came out of the war on drugs. War on drugs was essentially a war on black people, right? Mm-hmm. So all these fucking private prisons that folks are being detained up, locked up in, you feel me? This is a manifestation of white supremacy, anti-black racism, colonialism, right? It's an extension of it, you know? Because you have all these folks, you know, fleeing and, you know, coming to America because America's fucking over their country, running coups in their country, right? And then they're being put into these prisons, you know? So it's just...
Yeah, and I think, I don't understand, I thought it was clear that folks don't fuck with ICE, we can't trust ICE. Why would we ever even entertain anything that they talk about?
Like, y'all are gonna believe a tweet from ICE?
Then it's like, it's just jokes. But anytime it's a joke that affects one of us, then it's no longer a joke. Like if we talking about anything else, we talking about all the topics we've covered on here, right? Like I don't want to go into a segue because I know I'm like, damn, at some point I probably have to think of content warning so I can efforts to avoid that kind of shit. But you think about anything else that we address on this podcast, all the other all the other topics that are going on in this political climate, it's never like we talked about the Kevin Hart shit. You know what I'm saying? Like that's a prime example. It's not just a joke. Like jokes are a part of people's realities. Joke that you're making about this nigga being detained when he's in fact being detained by ISIS. It's not a joke. It's a joke that's rooted in reality, bro. That shit ain't cool.
I think it also shows 21 being detained like that. It's like, it don't matter how much money you have. It don't matter your celebrity status.
That's the biggest point. It's like when niggas think that we can
somehow
elevate ourselves out of anti-blackness, that we can elevate ourselves out of racism, that if we just attain a certain amount of success, this is one of the most successful niggas in the world in rap right now, right? If we can attain a certain amount of success, we're no longer fall victim to this white supremacist capitalist patriarchy. This is the perfect example. I just want niggas to know no matter how rich you get, nigga.
Well, not for you. And 21 Savage is a perfect example.
Millionaire.
He's a millionaire, multi-millionaire, recording artist, you feel me? And if you look at it, he's kind of a, Trump and all them out, oh, we need a model immigrant, quote unquote.
He the American dream.
He
pulled himself up by his bootstraps.
You feel me? Like, is doing financial literacy, right? Is doing all these good things for the community. Is like, also, was doing like the slut walk with Amber Rose and shit. Like, doing good things. But at the moment he speaks out, is when he's, America really can decide who is and who isn't American at the same time, right? I think one thing that is wild is that, like, even if you are a citizen, ICE can detain you. So for people who think, because you have citizenship that this isn't a fight for you.
You're protected, yeah.
Bruh, like it says, since 2012, ICE has released custody more than 1,480 people after investigating their citizenship claims. This means they've locked up 1,400 plus people.
Did they research? Then once they figure it out, then now you can go.
And that's their ICE.
So it's not as simple as you just, nigga, got my ID, nigga, die.
No, like, nigga, you were detained, and there's more than detention, you locked up. Like, detained means you're like, all right, maybe 24 hours.
And you another prisoner in there, so you getting treated like one.
You got a docket number, So
till your citizenship is proven.
Right.
I think another point that you made that really stuck out to me is the point of, like, people wanting artists and entertainers to speak up, right? And then when you get one that speak up on like some real, like, that was, I feel like, I'm not gonna say his politics are super radical, but like denouncing ICE, like on live television,
Flint,
yeah,
changing his verse
on live television. That was
an active political, chance that he took.
Yeah, and that was a big statement, right? So like, that's like the ideal situation for folks that don't have the platforms. Like, let's use your platform for good. Use your platform for good.
Like, use the mic for the right reasons.
Yeah, and I feel like it's very few artists that have like been able to navigate that space. But you get a nigga like 21 that gets up there and he again, he's not perfect. I know his politics aren't. None of us are for one. But he gets up there and he does it. And look how niggas repay him.
And it's like people want to say all the time. Yeah,
niggas turn him into a meme. So it's like
this nigga locked down, bro.
So now I'm thinking, like, if I'm an artist, what incentive do I have to speak up? If that's how niggas do? Because that's what happens when you speak up. You go to jail. Like, I hope that's what niggas realize is, like, at some point you end up in jail. You end up under surveillance, or niggas knock you off. Like, we talked about this with Clarissa as well. Like,
facts.
When you really in the field, you doing this work, nigga. There's
repercussions.
Yeah, there's consequences for this shit. So it's like, what incentive do artists have now when it's okay, when I do speak up and I do get on some political shit? For one, not only am I gonna get attacked by the state, niggas who told me to speak up for them, who I'm speaking up for, is gonna turn their back on me and turn me into a joke and feed into the propaganda.
Like, imagine this nigga coming out, like, doing a very political, a moral stance, right? Taking a moral stance, you feel me?
Yeah.
Potentially sacrificing his career to make that stance. And then you log on Twitter and you see what niggas was saying for the past few days, and you just you knew fresh out.
That shit gotta hurt, bro. It would hurt me. I ain't gonna lie. If I got, I'm like, damn, like this with niggas. I mean, I'm pretty sure he a nigga who been having shit said about him since he's become famous, but
still don't.
He gotta hurt.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's something that I feel like, it's like, bruh, this shit is real. And that's why this is important, I feel like, for us to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like this podcast is like, it's good because it's consistent and we're able to talk about things, but also like be like, bruh, these are things that we need to talk about right now. You know what I'm saying? And like, we can't just have these politics, because these politics have literally implications, and we want to be free, so we have to fix these things, right? It's like almost like a course correction type shit. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And nigga, that's something like, it's not fatal. Like, oh nigga, damn, I should have made fun of this nigga 21. Yeah, you shouldn't have, but also learn from it, because there's gonna be more. Like, now you can do the research of how ICE operates and why these niggas are foul, and also what anti-blackness and immigration looks like. And then from there, you can kind of, this shit gonna happen again. This is not gonna be the last nigga.
Bro, ICE is gonna come for us too. Like, if you look at this shit,
yeah.
Like, Trump has literally been trying to change the rules of citizenship. He wants to end birthright citizenship. Right.
So essentially, mean like even if you're born in America, you're not automatically a citizen.
Right. So if, let's say your parents are undocumented, came into this country quote unquote illegally, right? And you were born here. Trump is trying to end this birthright citizenship, right? So it's like, I'm sure a lot of people who are making fun of him, like, this could affect you next, but just because it might or might not affect you, you should still be caring about this. Like, immigration is a black issue. Niggas been deported. I'm like, bro, before ICE, nigga, Marcus Garvey was deported.
Every oppressive issue in America is a black issue. Period. There's not one issue in America that does not pertain to black folks.
Right.
That's what niggas need to realize.
And there's a bunch of black folks, black undocumented folks, right, locked up in cages, you know. And this isn't the first time, like, Black Alliance for Just Immigration has been talking about this. The Undocu Black Network is talking about this, right, and been fighting for the rights of black people who are detained by ICE, right. So it's like when we talk about all of us or none of us, black immigrants, black undocumented folks are a part of that, right. So I think that's what's really important for us to understand is to have a radical politic includes undocumented black folks.
Yeah.
And even if it didn't, like, you feel me? Black folks
are all of us and none of us.
That's all of us and none of us, bro. It's like there's a, you know, we got to care about Latinx people who's locked up in cages too. You feel me? All undocumented folks who's locked up in cages. You feel me? Even if it wasn't black folks in there, we still got to care about that, because any oppressive institution in America, if it's not hitting us yet, it's gonna hit us at some time. And 9 times out of 10, or I'll even say 10 times out of 10, if it's an oppressive institution, there's black people being oppressed.
Thanks.
So
shout out my nigga 21, man. Hopefully, bro, come home and continue to, you know, continue to learn and do better. I think that's one thing that artists and folks with platforms can continue to do, because I feel like, I don't know if you saw it the other day, but I think Diddy or Jay-Z posted, it was probably Diddy. It was Diddy for sure. Diddy or not, it was Diddy, nigga. He posted that pic and was like, we leading the revolution or some shit. And like, man, I don't know if Diddy's politics worth a damn. And also, me being in music, I should probably, you know, tread lightly with what I'm gonna say. But I'm gonna critique this nigga, right? So with artists, you get these situations. Anybody with platforms, artists, entertainers, whatever the fuck you want to call them, the $1 million organizers that we see in these days. You see these niggas, they get these platforms, and sometimes intentionally, unintentionally, they just, it's like they think they got it all figured out and they stop learning. So I would hate for 21 to come home and like stop learning and think like we kind of saw it happen with Meek. Like, Meek went to jail and he came home and he just was like, okay, I'm gonna face prison reform, and it's like, nah, my nigga, we want prison abolishment. And of course, we haven't figured that whole thing out, but we just know that prison ain't it.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
And we can't reform prisons.
And with Meek, he came out with the intentions. I think his intentions are really good. Like, I do. I think he really does want, like, he's been in prison, my nigga, multiple times. He got niggas that's in prison. He probably got niggas that died in prison. He probably seen niggas die in prison. He's lived the prison experience. Neither one of you have. Neither one of us have, right? So I do think that his intentions are right, but I just feel like the gist of it is, like, when niggas get to this position where they, like, have lived the experience of the shit that live these experiences, and they come out and they trying to be like advocates and social justice advocates for shit, you got to continue to do your research and to learn, so that you're not trying to teach niggas how to, you know, work within the system. Because I don't think that's what niggas really want. Because you see what the system is. It's not that you want, like, with Meek with prison reform, you've seen how prison is. You don't want this, like, you don't want niggas, you don't want prison to still exist.
Because I think, you know, even in some of his songs, he's like, watching a black woman take my freedom, and it almost made me hate my people.
Yeah.
Well, he's talking about a black prosecutor taking his freedom. You know what I'm saying? Or like a black judge, right? Revoking his freedom. And that's what we talk about, this fundamentally wrong system that even though there's a black person in this seat, you feel me? The job of the black person is still to lock your ass up, right? So I think that's why it's important to, like, for radical folks to be in those folks' corners too.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
Because
it's like, how do we tap in with folks who have these big platforms to what the radical shit is on the ground? You know
like, imagine if Meek, like, so again, I'm kind of off on a tangent, probably didn't even prove my point, but imagine if Meek was hanging around prison what is it? Abolitionists, yeah. Imagine if Meek was around those niggas and not niggas who are preaching for prison reform, right? Like, I'm sure he wants prisons to be abolished, but doesn't know not familiar with those terms or what that looks like. He just knows he doesn't want prison to operate the way that it does, and niggas are selling him reform. Like niggas in politics are selling him reform.
It's also people taking advantage of him too.
Exactly.
Right, for their own political.
Exactly. So like when 21 Savage come home, I don't want that to happen for him. But then we also need to be weary of the niggas who are clearly trying to integrate into systems that on average, yeah, like okay, like maybe one or two of us may be able to come in here and function, but like we know that this system is designed for the majority of black folks to be oppressed and marginalized and to suffer and not succeed. You know what I'm saying? So it's just we got to be wary of all that shit because I seen niggas comment under Diddy pictures like, yeah, y'all the new leaders. I'm like, that nigga ain't the leader of no revolution. For one, I need to get very clear what the term revolution is and what a radical is, and we're gonna go into that.
Because revolution is overthrowing the system.
That means that well, when you think about a revolution, right? What history has shown is that when you revolt and the revolution is successful, the system that was in place before the revolution no longer exists. I'm pretty sure Diddy 100% fucks with capitalism.
Oh yeah.
He does not want to revolt against capitalism.
He wants his money.
Integration is not revolution.
Right.
That's what niggas just need to get clear. Like we need to get that very, very clear. So when niggas is coining me, that's why I said, bro, like, don't get too caught up in like words. It's so easy for like niggas to whip our heads with words. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Especially if you don't know exactly what it is. Like you just know what it look like, or you know what it feel like. You don't know what the term
because
is.
You think a revolution is now a Lambo and turn it up
like
the Hamptons or some shit. You know?
Becoming rich does not make you revolutionary, my nigga.
Because even no matter how much money you have, you're still a nigga. 21 Savage, perfect example.
So yeah, point is, I don't want. My hope is that artists and people with platforms continue to learn, because I do have faith in them and that they want to do good things. And also as people, let's judge these niggas by their actions and not their words, and understand the words that they are using. So when niggas like Diddy is calling themselves revolutionaries, know in fact that they're not revolutionaries, they're integrationists. Boom. That's my point. That was my point.
That was so fire, bro. That was so fire.
I took the long way to get there, nigga. Like,
hey, but you got there. That's the most important.
Hopefully we didn't lull the niggas to sleep. I hope niggas still listen to this shit.
Niggas is listening. I was listening.
Yeah.
I think that's a perfect segue to talk about what is black radicalism, right? So if you go back to the episode we did with Clarissa.
Shout out Clarissa.
Follow them. Follow, you know, on Twitter. Tap in. We want to talk about what is a black radical, because so many people, you know, and just even thinking about this, you know, talking about with P. Diddy and shit, right? Mm-hmm. Who is a black radical? Who is a revolutionary? What do these terms mean? You know, it's Black History Month. Oftentimes, Black History Month, we kind of celebrate the first black person to integrate, the first black judge or some shit, or the first black cop. Nigga, fuck all that.
That is being the first black person integrated into an oppressive system does not make you revolutionary, my nigga. Like
no.
And I think that's the point that you make it is like that's what niggas frame it as. Like, okay, once you fully integrated into the system and learn how to navigate this white supremacist capitalistic society successfully, boom, you're a leader and you're a revolutionary. That's what it's kind of being masked as now. Right. You know what I'm saying? But that's not the way that me and you were taught it.
Or once, you know, you become a black, you know, the first black woman president and you're quote unquote from Oakland, all of a sudden that's revolutionary. That's justice. That's equality. Kamala Harris is not about justice. She's not about equality. She's not about freedom. She spent her whole political career locking niggas up. Right?
And niggas are really like capitalizing on our desire and our like hunger for freedom and change. Niggas are capitalizing on that shit and literally repackaging fucking reform and integration.
And the state knows that. Right, so these people are literally state-orchestrated activists. Kamala Harris, right, weaponizing words like truth and justice and freedom and for the people.
Buzzwords and shit that
using these same things. Yeah. Like, literally, Kamala Harris announced it in Oscar Grant Plaza in downtown Oakland. Literally, that's a site of resistance for the, you know, Occupy movement, a site of resistance for the Justice for Oscar Grant, right? And then she has her whole presidential campaign, and I think her slogan is for the people. Right, so that's also buying off of the Black Panther Party, power to the people, right?
It's using these words. Top tier marketing and advertisement, bro.
It's top tier, like, Democratic, blue, white supremacist.
Who's ever a part of their campaign, this is fire. Like this is like, this is how you motivate black folks, especially folks that are in Oakland who are so deeply connected to the civil rights movement and to the Black Panther Party. Right. Yeah, like it's the perfect way. And I think. Well, we gotta. So when you think about like radicalism and black revolutionaries and all that, right? Like right now, it's being repackaged and fucking
sold, commodified.
Yeah, it's definitely being repackaged.
Niggas is lying. First and foremost, the word revolutionary and the word activist and organizer and, you know, human rights advocate. Like we see all these words being used, but oftentimes these people with the biggest platforms are not revolutionaries. They're for America. They're for white supremacy. They just wanted to be included in, and they're cool with their little crumbs from capitalism, right? And they're cool with being, you know, rubbing shoulders in the ruling class, but they're not for the masses of black folks.
Yeah. So I think at its root, at its core, like we gotta understand that, like being a radical, being a revolutionary, it isn't an aesthetic. It's not a way that you look, right? Like number one thing, because then you it's not a way to, because then you think about, right, like you start talking about ableism, right? Like when you think about revolutionaries, you see like somebody like standing up tall with an afro, like that's the kind of like the aesthetic that's being pushed.
A
right?
black beret.
Yeah, you don't really think about, I mean, a lot of radicals, revolutionaries, been motherfuckers who can't walk, you know, shit, people in wheelchairs, shit like that, right? So it's not an aesthetic, and then on top of that, it's not a way of speaking. I think that's the number one thing. So you talk about these buzzwords like truth, hope, power, like those, it's not those things either, right? What I've noticed is like being
all of us.
Yeah, all of us and none of us. What I've noticed, like radicals and revolutionaries, like that shit is a way of life. And that's the easiest way to spot a radical is to judge them by their actions. The easiest way to spot a revolutionary is to judge them by their actions. When you see what people do, that's the easiest fucking way. Because a lot of these folks who are repackaging the shit to us, they've mastered the game like we talked about. They know how to speak in such a way that where it just capitalize on, again, either your ignorance, your misunderstanding, or your desire, you know, to be free.
But that's what propaganda is.
Yeah.
Right? So it's important that when we see Kamala Harris and when we see Cory Booker, we understand what the goal of this is. Right? You know, you see all these people and there's a certain goal behind it. Right? And looking at the people's actions and does that words meet the actions, I think it's a great point. Judge people by their actions. She says Black Lives Matter, but how can you say Black Lives Matter? I don't even know if she said that, to be honest. Like
she probably did at some point.
So I don't know.
Some point during this press run.
But like, how are you pro-black, quote unquote, but your job was to be the top cop? How does that happen?
When the very construction of the cops was anti-black. How you can't be pro-black and you're operating in an anti-black system.
And how do you say Black Lives Matter? And literally Black Lives Matter, the organization, just joined Sean King's Political Action Committee Justice PAC, right? I forget exactly who joined it, right? But one of the co-founders for Black Lives Matter joined Sean King. And the goal of Sean King's organization is literally to elect district attorneys, right? But this is from people, you know, at the quote unquote head of the Black Lives Matter movement. I believe it was Patrice Cullors, one of the co-founders of the Black Lives Matter movement and the organization. Right.
What year is it? I don't even know what year it is. I'm looking.
I'm damn near positive.
Damn. I hate that this shit is on camera. Y'all just seen me hit my knee. That shit hurt so bad.
I heard that. I was like, oh
fuck. Shit. That shit hurt.
You know. Yep. It's Patrice Cullors. Right here. Right. So one of the co-founders of Black Lives Matter, and we're saying fuck the police, fuck 12. We're trying to stop police killings.
It's teaming up with 12.
It's teaming up to elect top cops. That shit ain't revolutionary, right?
We need to break this down.
But then look at how much money Black Lives Matter, the organization, is getting. They're getting millions and millions of dollars. And it's for what? It's to elect prosecutors. To elect and defend the state. You feel me? So that shit ain't radical. That's reformist. And what is a fucking progressive prosecutor? Like what you were saying last episode?
I don't know what that looks like. I think when we
you said something like, oh, you get the gavel just a little bit lighter.
The gavel a little lighter. I think when we assessing and like critiquing these kind of systems, we should be able to break it down in like very simple things, right? So for me, how I like to look at it is, if you had like a black slave master, you know what I'm saying? Like that's like a very simple way of like putting a face or like giving an example. Like this is what a black person in power integrating into a system looks like. Okay, what if we have black slave masters? The whip still hit the same, my nigga.
We have black cops.
Or would I just lash you a little lighter?
Still kill black people at the same rate as white cops.
You know what I'm saying? Like so you gotta be able to put it in
the simplest of terms.
Cause it's for me, nigga. When I didn't understand the way that a DA fucking functioned, how a prosecutor functioned. I didn't understand all that shit. So boom, but I definitely knew that I wasn't fucking with slavery. So for my niggas that can't fully understand like how this is trash and what working in a system looks like, you wouldn't want your slave master to be black, white, yellow, brown, green. You wouldn't want a slave master in general. I don't want my top cop. I don't want cops at all. period, point blank, green, yellow, blue, silver, whatever the color is, because I know that cop don't do what that cop got to do, just the way that slave master going to do what that slave master got to do.
And that's why it's so important to look at the foundation of the system. What the foundation of the system is in this America is rooted in genocide, is rooted in slavery, right? The police is rooted in slave patrols.
It all makes sense when you take a step back and analyze the system at its core. It all makes sense. This shit is doing exactly what it's supposed to do.
That's why people say this shit is broken. I'm like, this shit ain't broken, nigga. This shit is
working.
This is a well-oiled motherfucking machine.
Niggas like the system is broken.
This shit is oiled up. This system is fucking hydrated, nigga. This system has cocoa butter all over it, nigga. This shit is hydrated and it's working exactly how it's meant to do. You feel me? So, that is facts.
Who are some? Oh shit! I thought my shit just went out. I almost lost it. So we know who would you consider a black radical?
I think the first person, especially being in Oakland, is Huey Newton, right? A radical socialist, internationalist, right? Co-founder of the Black Panther Party, right? Free breakfast programs, hundreds of programs, people's programs within Oakland that moved nationally that were for the people and by the people.
You never once heard that nigga like talk about integrating into systems.
You never ever see Huey Newton up in the White House or invited to the White House. Yeah. If a nigga was invited to the White House, you know what I'm saying? The nigga's politics must be on some other shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, nigga was the fucking eminent enemy of the fucking U.S.
It is out. Yeah, it is. Is it still recording? I just can't hear myself. But, hello.
Still recording.
I can hear you. Fuck it. I'm so good. I don't need to hear myself. As long as the shit is recording.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's still
recording. Where did we just leave off at? Now I lost my train of thought. I'm pretty sure it's yours. You talking about niggas getting invited to the White House. If a nigga gets invited to the White House, it's probably because they think you got something worthy. They're trying to hear it. They think you can work with them. Yeah. They see you as a partner. That's simple.
Yeah.
If you visited the White House, you really out of pocket. If I get invited to the White House, I'm thinking I'm getting set up to be killed.
Facts.
That's what I'm thinking. Yeah, almost there we go. Yeah, I can hear myself now. I don't know what that was. Damn, I'm sorry, y'all. We might be in our bag, we might be out of our bag right now. I don't know what's going on. We just had a little technical difficulty.
But y'all can hear us now. Hopefully y'all heard that shit. Otherwise we don't have to ask that motherfucker. But yeah.
When we think about radicals in America, it's folks that completely reject the system. There's not one way they see the system functioning for us. Again, revolutions are overthrowing and obliterating systems. When you have anyone that's this is how you can spot a non-radical revolutionary. They use the word reform. If you would a nigga using reform, using reform, stay away from them. It's not a revolutionary. Reform means working within the system, keeping parts of the system intact. Revolution means destroying the entire system.
It means taking
obliteration
fully out of your back, like Malcolm X said, right? You can't take the knife out 3 inches and expect it to get better, nigga. You got to take the knife out all the way so the wound could heal. And integration is still gonna keep a knife within your back.
Facts.
So it's really about removing the knife, healing the wound, and being organized enough so that the knife can never be put in your back again. That's what revolution. That's what radicalism is.
Shout out to all my black radicals out there, all my black revolutionaries. Shit, you know what the fuck going on. We're probably gonna need to dive into that again. Like that's something I want us to keep talking about because as we gain new listeners, we need them to get a radical perspective and a radical politics.
So why is capitalism not radical? I think that's something that we should talk about too, especially when we talk about like P. Diddy, right? And we're talking about that, that image we're talking about. Oh, billionaires. That's the next face of shit.
I mean, for me, why I don't think capitalism is radical and why I know it's not radical is because in order for capitalism to function, someone has to be poor.
Right.
Capitalism is a system that is designed to benefit from the labor of poor folks.
Right. And if we're looking at the very foundation of capitalism in America today, right, the foundation was the genocide of indigenous people, the enslavement of black people,
the the capturing, the fucking the transatlantic slave trade, like that shit is at the root of fucking capitalism.
American capitalism, right?
Yeah.
So cotton, nigga, that was one of the biggest exports to like the 1950s.
Yeah.
Nigga, that was the biggest shit sold, right? Black people, enslaved black people was the biggest form of currency in this country.
So at the root of the system, at the root of the capitalistic system is the enslavement of black folks, the genocide of natives, the genocide of black folks. That's at the root of capitalism. So why would I want a system that's rooted in that?
Right.
That's why capitalism to me isn't radical.
Exactly. So it's, you know, like Fred Hampton said, it's like you can't fight capitalism with black capitalism. You fight capitalism with socialism, right? So the black radical tradition, if you look at all these black radical folks, Huey Newton, you know what I'm saying, like Assata Shakur, right? They have been black socialists, right? And the biggest movements, the most radical movements, the party, Black Panther Party, right? They were socialists, you feel me? So it's like...
Can you give like a very brief and layman's term definition of socialism?
Socialism just means everybody on it type shit, right? So
everybody gets a piece of the pie.
Everybody gets something, you feel me? So capitalism, in the means of production, you feel me? You have the capitalist class, the ruling class, owns the means of production, meaning they own the factories, they own the corporations, they own all the businesses, right? So if you look at a Target, you know, you look at a Pepsi, all those corporations are owned by very few people, right? Mm-hmm. Oil, right? All these things. So if you look in California, PG&E, you know what I'm saying? Like that's energy, that's owned by the ruling class, right? Socialism essentially means that you don't have one owner, everyone becomes an owner, mm-hmm. right? So that's like if you look at Mandela Food Collective in West Oakland, that's a socialist type of business, right? Because everyone who is a part of the cooperative is a part of ownership, right? So socialism calls for free housing. Socialism calls for free education, free healthcare, and that's a right. You feel me?
Capitalism calls for paying for your healthcare, paying for your education.
And people on the streets, right? Even though there's more houses available in Alameda County, abandoned houses, right? And we're talking about gentrification. The Bay Area is one of the most expensive places to live. Mm-hmm. There's enough abandoned housing in Alameda County to house every homeless person. But capitalism says, no, if you can't pay for this housing, your ass is on the street. Your ass is in the tent. And we're going to evict you from the curb.
Does that sound radical to you?
So when people call for black capitalism, what is the difference of black capitalism to white capitalism? Capitalism is
black poor folks. That's when we got mostly. You feel me?
You have a black upper class.
We just have a black upper class. Let's just say white people didn't exist anymore. Latinx people didn't exist. It was just only black folks, and we had black capitalism. For capitalism to function, there needs to be poor people. So black poor people will still exist.
Facts.
With black capitalism.
Right.
There would just be the Killer Mikes of the world running the fucking corporations, the Tariq Nasheeds of the world. Anybody, the Diddy's of the world, the Jay-Z's of the world.
The black dollar would be at an all-time high.
Jay-Z will be the one with the knife in your back as opposed to these white people. That's all that it is.
Right. So it's
maybe Hope doesn't know that. Maybe he doesn't know. Mm-hmm. Maybe Diddy doesn't know. Well, I'm gonna give you niggas the benefit of the doubt.
Shit. Where are their clothes being made, you know? Right? You know? So it's like capitalism is fucked up. You know what I'm saying? It's like
there's no way to make capitalism radical. There's no way.
So it requires oppression, right? And also, part of the black radical tradition is being an internationalist, right? Knowing that all of us, you feel me? All black folks, you feel me?
Should really extend past borders, bro.
Yeah.
The solidarity extends past borders.
And it extends past black people, right? Yeah. If you look at Huey Newton, niggas was sending Black Panther, they offered to the Viet Cong who was fighting the American army. They offered Black Panthers to fight alongside the Viet Cong to fight against the American Empire, right? Recognizing that the military is just the international police, right? Mm-hmm. So we have OPD at home, but the military is a form of an international police, right? So the Panthers realized, yeah, we also know we have to be internationalists too, right? You know, if we're looking at it right now in Venezuela, like the U.S. is essentially trying to orchestrate a coup. You know, it's important for black people, black radicals to be like, nah, bro, we ain't fucking with no coup. You feel me? Like, I'm trying to be in solidarity against literally another U.S. government overthrowing, you know, a socialist government.
Because that's what they did to us.
So
niggas just captured niggas and brought us over here. She's gonna be hot about this shit.
So it's like having an international perspective is important too, you feel me? Because shit, if we look at niggas want to talk about, oh man, we can go find freedom in Africa, nigga, the U.S. military has 80 military bases on the continent. You ain't gonna find no freedom over there where neocolonialism still exists, right?
Yeah.
So it's like the international having like a worldview of black people, you feel me? It's like all of us, you feel me? That's why when niggas like 21 get arrested, it's like, he is one of us, nigga, just because he's from quote-unquote Great Britain, you know?
Fuck where that nigga from?
It extends past that, so it's like, nigga, fuck the flag, fuck America, nigga, Fuck nationality, nigga. We
fuck
black
America
first,
as
nigga.
a whole. And not just fuck America in America. Fuck America in Africa. Fuck America in China. Fuck America in South America. Fuck America.
Facts.
Period. Shout out to all my black radicals, all my black revolutionaries again. Keep fighting that good fight.
Yeah, so we'll for sure dive more into black radicalism. You know, like we consider this to be a radical politics. You feel me? This podcast is a radical podcast. Facts. You know what I'm saying? We don't want no integration. You feel me? Facts. We want a revolution that frees all people. You feel me? All of us or none of us, nigga. So, straight up, that's how it is. And if you want to tap in, Patreon. You want to tap into this next part, patreon.com/hellblackpod. Pay up for this extended episode. You feel me? Support us. Thank you for everyone who's been supporting us. And we got a good...
Happy Black History Month.
Happy Black History Month, man. It's cool, but bro, nigga, I don't know, man. I'll be fucking having to work even more, nigga. It's like Black History Month. I'm supposed to celebrate and shit, nigga. I gotta work more.